What is up, duelists? Arts and Crofts here with your daily dose of Yu-Gi-Oh! GOAT format content. Today's feature match, we've got Cooler versus the Knights. As always, both players rated in the top 200 on the dueling book Go format ladder. Let's jump right into it. Looks like Cooler is going to win that RPS. Choose to go first, as expected. Going to lead out with a Delinquent Duo, one of the best cards in the format to open, so off to a pretty early lead, assuming this gets full value. It's going to hit a Desert Sunlight, which signifies the Knights is on something potentially a little bit spicy. Maybe a burn deck, maybe like an empty jar deck, something like that. We'll see, though. And then the Knights is also going to discard a Raigeki Break. Pretty common card to discard off of Duo because it gets worse the less cards you have in hand. Cooler's going to follow up with a Thunder Dragon, so it looks like some sort of chaos strategy here out of Cooler. Going to go set a back row pass, up a card thanks to that duo, up a card and a half thanks to the duo plus Thunder Dragon, one you could say. The Knights here, let's see how they'll respond. Pot of Greed here to drop back up and cancel out that Delinquent duo. Then they're going to set a monster, set a back row pass. If you're the Cooler, you've already seen a Desert Sunlight, so the Knights could have some very powerful set monsters that you might have to play around here or worry about. Cooler's just going to go ahead and normal summon the Exiled Force, tribute it to pop the set, which was a Gravekeeper Spy. Okay, so might be, yeah, Spy plus Desert Sunlight, not a combo you always see. So not entirely sure what the Knights is running, but I'm sure we'll get more info there. Now, seeing Thunder Dragon plus Exiled Force out of Cooler makes you think they're probably running Chaos Control. That's probably the most common deck that runs both of these. But could also be, these are just kind of staple cards in the format, so it could be a lot of stuff. Just going to set another back row pass, having already used the normal summon, but kind of dealing with the Knight's early stuff, up a couple cards, trying to buy out some time for you to cash in those Thunder Dragons. Things are looking good. Knight's follow-up play, going to set another monster here, so continuing to apply at least some hypothetical pressure with these set monsters. Cooler already expending one out to them via Exiled Force, so not guaranteed to have another card to interact with this. We're just going to go Call of the Haunted on the Exiled, pop it again. Solid stuff. Hits a Sinister Serpent, so the Knights here crawling their way back, getting a +1 there, thanks to Sinister just being able to eat the Exiled Force effect. It will, of course, return back to the Knight's hand next turn. Cooler here does have a monster to set to use our normal summon for the turn. But card advantage basically equalized here, thanks to that Sinister Serpent. Knights here going to re-grab the Serpent, set a monster, could, of course, be that Serpent here. A lot of mind games potentially at play for Cooler to deal with. But will likely get the chance to flip summon their set monster with Duo and Grave if it's a Faith. And it is a Faith, so Faith will grab Duo. Now, the Knights does have a Serpent somewhere in the rotation. It could be the set monster, so if you're Cooler, you might want to attack the set first in case it's Serpent, because if it's Serpent, it'll at least kill it, which isn't bad. And then you'll know if it's Serpent and Grave to clear the way for Duo. So something like that could be interesting. Just going to fire it off here, not even going to check to see if it's Serpent first. And hits a Chaos Sorcerer. Okay. So not particularly live just yet, but definitely one of the power cards in the Knight's deck, and we confirm that they're on some sort of Chaos strategy here. And then the Knights has the Serpent in hand to discard to it. So Cooler may be a little bit eager there, but does at least, you get the knowledge that the set monster is not Sinister Serpent, which could dictate how the rest of this turn goes. Going to go Tribute Summon for a Thunder Dragon just to get a nice 1600 beater on the board. Set, of course, could be another Spy, could be Magician of Faith of the Knight's own. Could be something like a Dakoichi, could be Sangan, could be a lot of things. But this Thunder Dragon is going to go get in. Oh, we have Raigeki Break, discard Night Assailant. Ah, okay, cool sequencing there. So Tribute Summoning the Faith to get it in Grave. So then when they activate Raigeki Break, discarding the Night Assailant effect can return the Magician of Faith to hand, which is pretty nice. And this Raigeki Break also sets up, Raigeki Break place also sets up Chaos for the Cooler, getting the Night Assailant, a dark monster, into the grave, pairing with that Thunder Dragon. So pretty nice sequencing here. You really just got to hope that this set monster is not Sangan, but somewhat unlikely that it... Well, you have to hope that it's not Sangan or Serpent, but Serpent is in grave, so it's more likely that this will be a good play, because the only card you have to worry about it being is Sangan. It is a Magician of Faith, so nice play there from Cooler. Good sequencing. confirming that the Set Monster was not Serpent thanks to the Delinquent Duo effect, which was, not getting full value out of the duo, but they did give them extra knowledge to know that this Raigeki break play was more likely to succeed. And now Faith hits the grave. Chaos live for the Knights thanks to that. But one Chaos Sorcerer has already been ripped out of the hand, so less likely do they have a live Chaos Monster. Yeah, and as I mentioned before, Knight Assailant effect can return the Faith to hand. And now the board is pretty much clear for Thunder Dragon to get in for 1600. Just going to get a Mirror Force here on the Thunder Dragon. Not the strongest monster, obviously just a 1600 vanilla. So Mirror Forcing that, probably not exactly what the Knights wants, but you're super far behind, so I understand just like wanting to drag out for as much time as possible if you can by just removing the opponent's major threat. And if their play was Tribute Summon for Thunder Dragon, you could think that maybe they don't have that much other gas in their hand, except you do know that they have the Faith now, which is only has the Duo to grab that the Knights could potentially play around. So depending on what's in hand, might be a threat or might not be. Cooler's going to add a back row there. Knight's going to draw up to 3 and recur that Sinister Serpent, which I was playing to trap Dust Shoot. Something they might want to worry about, but doesn't look like the Cooler has it. It's going to get a T-set pass there for the Knights. Likely that Serpent there set on the board, but doesn't have to be, of course. Cooler going to set a monster of their own. Could very well be that set Magician of Faith was able to trigger earlier this game. So you have to bank on the Knights not really having too much set monster interaction. The Knights is going to go flip summon Magician of Faith number 2, and that's going to go grab that Pot of Greed. So resolving Pot for the second time this game to continue to crawl back in terms of card advantage is quite strong. Ooh, and they have the Nobleman of Crossout now to deal with their opponent's Magician of Faith. And now Cooler will not be able to draw any if there are any left in their deck. So not a bad move. Looks like the Knights is on the full triple copies of Faith. Knocking there before you use the pot is a little bit interesting because it means you're not allowed to draw an additional Faith because you just milled the last one out. Could be a minor thing. Maybe you think you don't really need the Faith, but I feel like recurring pot again is probably one of your best ways back into this game. But maybe if you have like a Sukiyo main hand and it just doesn't matter. Pot's going to come down though. Cooler lets that resolve. And then we do find a Sangan, so this is 1300 points of damage a turn coming in here against Cooler. And the Knights able to resolve a Magician of Faith, prevent Cooler from resolving theirs, and now they're in the ascendancy with all the board pressure and pretty much equalizing the card advantage thanks to the double Pot of Greed resolutions. The Cooler's follow play, we're going to go Reinforcement of the Army. So this could be like a Chaos Control list running a Slight Warrior package, potentially. Or it could also be like Chaos Warrior, but then Knight Assailant would be kind of out of place. Roto will go grab a Donzalug. Interesting. We're gonna go normal summon Donzalug, beat over the Magician of Faith. Now, one of the 2 cards in hand for the Knights is the Sinister Serpent, so this is kind of a coin flip of if you're actually going to get value out of this Donzalug or not. But 50% chance you get an extra plus is not too bad odds. This will force the Knights to just Ring of Destruction the Donzalug to prevent them 50-50 from happening, so trying to protect the hand here. Maintain board supremacy as well, and deal a little bit more damage to Cooler's life points, forcing them down to 3,300. So Cooler here still on the back foot, having used their normal summon there. The Knights could just be able to push in for a lot of damage just now. Playing around Mirror Force is a little bit weird by changing Faith to defense position. I guess if you're planning to do that anyway, you might as well do it in case it's a held Mirror Force, although that's probably unlikely. So saying it's just going to beat in for 1,000. Cooler drops all the way down to 2,300, so not doing too hot. And then the Knights will go and activate Thunder Dragon here in main phase 2. Grab 2 copies out of the deck, thin it a little bit, get some tribute enablement for their Sangan to potentially force a search. And they're just going to pass turn, but very much ahead here thanks to those double Magician of Faith on Pot of Greed resolutions. Cooler here going to go normal summon, right? I guess it was 2 Pot of Greed resolutions, 1 Faith resolution, 4 pot. We're going to get normal summon Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. So this might just be one of those Chaos Warrior lists. So Warrior rocking Thunder Dragon, Knight Assailant, and some discard traps. Definitely a deck that we have seen played before. Ninja Grandmaster, not a bad card. That's just going to go ahead and beat over that Magician of Faith. Ninja Grandmaster, or Cooler in general, just being wary of beating over the Sangan, not wanting to give them the opportunity to search just yet. Would rather control the board and prevent, go for the safer play of just answering the Faith in case something like a Book of Moon or a Tsukiyomi were to come out from the Knights. So a little bit conservative there. The Knights, of course, if they do want to get that Sangan search off, does have those Thunder Dragons in hand here if they want that to be an option. Cool, we're going to pass turn with this Grandmaster still on board. We're just going to get Sangan into defense position, set a monster, set a back row pass. So the Knight's kind of holding up here. Got in a ton of damage thanks to that Sangan Magician of Faith push. And now kind of turtling up in the face of this Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. Cooler is just going to go ahead and actually attack into the Sangan this time, allowing the Knights to go search. They grab a Tsukuyomi because Tsukuyomi can easily beat over Ninja Grandmaster thanks to the help of its effect. But we're going to add a set monster and a back row here. So Cooler potentially having an out to the Tsukuyomi. Stuff like Ring, stuff like Book of Moon, another Raigeki Break, even Mirror Force isn't terrible. So making the call that now it's fine to let them get the Sangan search off because you probably have an out to whatever they search for. And another set monster here as well. We know it's likely not Magician of Faith because that got hit by Nuck earlier, but could be some good stuff. The Knights here makes it a main phase 1. We got Pro Set Heavy Storm to clear out the whole back row. That will resolve. It hits. So there was the Mirror Force out of Cooler to potentially protect from the Tsukuyomi. Does hit a Pro Set Heavy Storm as well, which is a little bit interesting when you did not have a chainable to go with it. The Knights blowing up their own Desert Sunlight, so it's really in there to play against Nock. It's pretty cool, or it's pretty clear that Cooler does not have any sort of set monster interaction at the moment, so Desert Sunlight not getting a lot of value here. But now Heavy Storm clearing the way for the Tsukuyomi play to come through, at least to deal with this Ninja Grandmaster. Could also be potentially more damage coming in here for the Knights, considering now there's no back row they have to worry about. We're going to go put some to Koichi, trigger to draw one more card. Snatch Steal on the Ninja Grandmaster too. They could just be going for a complete game push here. They're going to go attack into that set monster. It is a Gravekeeper Spy, so that will summon another copy of itself out and wall out for the turn. But main phase 2, normal summon Tsukuyomi will flip the Grandmaster face down, sending Snatch Shield to the grave, and now Ninja Grandmaster is not at risk of back row removal, clearing out the Snatch Steal, returning Ninja Grandmaster to Cooler's board. So nice play to kind of make the Snatch Steal effect more permanent and prevent Cooler from gaining life as well. Oh, actually, we're just going to... Never mind. We're going to prioritize setting down the Koichi, which is kind of the better play in the long game because you get to kind of recur infinite card advantage by flipping up the Koichi every turn. So going for that play there, saying, okay, I have this Ninja Grandmaster that's threatening your spies. I will get in for damage eventually, but if you invest all your resources in trying to answer that, then I just have this Souk Loop here to go infinite and, draw you out of card advantage. So Cooler might just have to turn a spy to attack position, attack the Koichi. They will be able to gain 1,000 life here in standby phase thanks to the Snatch Shield, putting them up to 3,300. So every turn this Grandmaster lives, Cooler is getting a little bit further away from lethal range, erasing some of the work that the Knights did earlier this game. But they have two pretty impressive threats at the moment, so hoping that will kind of bail them out. Chaos Sorcerer hitting the board here for Cooler, though, is just going to deal with that Ninja Grandmaster right away, and then Spies here to go beat over that Koichi, breaking up the Souk Loop. It will get another trigger here, but otherwise totally fine. And we're actually, so Sork makes total sense. You don't have to worry about any back row, so you might as well just attack into the Ninja Grandmaster, getting it in your grave, because we know you are on some sort of, probably premature burial is likely in this deck. And it deals a little bit of damage to your opponent, so why not? And then Spy will pop that to Koichi. It'll draw one more card, but now the Souk Loop is broken up. And Cooler making a nice play there to kind of get a little bit back into things. Pretty strong board with double spy plus Sork, but the Knights has a full grip of cards to potentially deal with this, and Cooler doesn't really have too many life points left, so could be a tough one. The Knights here does have a Graceful Charity with known Sinister Serpent and known Thunder Dragons in hand, so gonna get a lot of value out of this one, cashing in all of their stuff. I think the Cooler still has one Thunder Dragon in hand, so not really able to cash them in super well. They were able to trade one for a Mirror Force earlier, which isn't too bad, but the other one has just been stuck in hand. The Knights here, okay, we're going to discard Sinister Serpent and then another Knight Assailant, which will be able to bring back any one of these flip monsters in grave, Magician of Faith is a solid one to recur that pot or that graceful, or even the Snatch Seal would be good. Spy is a decent choice as well to go maximum aggression. Gonna grab that Faith though, pretty good this late into the game. They have Duo here to rip out that Thunder Dragon and whatever the other card is from hand, which is a Tribe Infecting Virus. And so Cooler really down to almost no resources. The Knight seems to really have kind of pulled this one back. Lots of really good, Pot of Greed plus Faith, Sinister Serpent combos, things like that. Yeah, it was really when they were able to resolve that second Magician of Faith that they played was, I think, really the turning point of this game. It got them the pot, equalized in card advantage, and it's kind of been all momentum for the Knights since then. Gonna go past turn there. Cooler here, not too much going on. Yeah, we're just gonna go super aggressive. I like this play when you're down a ton of cards and your only advantage is board advantage. You know this will get broken eventually, so you might as well try to get in maximum damage while you can. Ring of Destruction still in deck as well, so getting your opponent low is pretty good because maybe you could just top deck Ring and go for game. Oh, so we're gonna get Sork attack the set monster. The Knights will activate Raigeki Break, discarding a Thunder Dragon to pop that Sork, so prevent that attack from going through. Spy will then attack it, but is another Magician of Faith. Well, yeah, it was the Magician of Faith from the Knight Assailant, of course. Makes total sense. Cooler probably hasn't seen any knocks or anything yet. A little bit unfortunate since they're halfway through their deck. That'll grab back that Graceful, which can combo with the Sinister Serpent again next turn. So, yeah, I think the Knight's in pretty commanding position here. Cooler will be able to hit in for 12 with the Spy, but they're out of ring range from any monster in a standard, chaos-ish deck. So I think the Knights will be able to kind of turn the corner from here, close out the game pretty quickly. Gonna grab the Sinister Serpent, fire off this Graceful, chain Jar of Greed to dig even a little bit further. Discard another Knight Assailant plus Sinister Serpent, so just tons and tons of value off of this Graceful here. And you just have a million cards in hand as the Knights. Totally fine. Upstart to even dig further. Funny that they haven't seen a single Upstart yet, even though there's 7 cards left in deck. And they find BLS, and this should just be game, yeah. So game 1 there goes to the Knights, able to just grind out, do some cool classic Chaos Turbo, Dirtily, Sinister Serpent, Thunder Dragon, Recurring Trinity stuff to just gain tons of advantage. And then when you're up 10 cards, it doesn't really matter what you have. You can pretty easily close out the game. So Cooler falls game 1, going to choose to go first here in game 2, most likely on this, I think, Chaos Warrior build is what it looks like. We haven't seen any Scapegoat Metamorphosis stuff, so it's unlikely to be a control deck. But we have seen like Rhoda and Donzalug and Ninja Grandmaster, so definitely more of a Chaos Warrior strategy coming out here from Cooler. They opened Delinquent Duo for the second game in a row. The Knights is probably not super happy about that. But great card to open, as always. Hits an Upstart Goblin, kind of whatever. And then the Knights will go and discard a Tsukuyomi as their second one. All right. Cooler will go set a monster, activate Thunder Dragon to grab a couple more copies of it. And just pass turn here with the set there. Threatening Recurring Delinquent Duo, but could be a Dekoichi, could be a Spy, could be a lot of things. Knights here, down a card. Does have a Graceful Charity, though. Gonna immediately discard. Oh, so we saw they didn't shuffle the hand, so that was just a YOLO Graceful, and they found the Sinister Serpent on it to go back up in card advantage against the Duo. So once again, getting Duo'd turn 1, but having a Trinity piece to go and equalize the card advantage immediately, so not really suffering the effects of Duo for too long. Also, discarding a Heavy Storm is a little bit interesting, but it seems pretty clear that Cooler is not rocking really any back row, at least at the moment. Pretty monster-clogged hand, most likely, especially with those double Thunder Dragons. So making the call that Heavy Storm will probably not get too much use anytime soon. Gonna go ahead, T-set pass, so Cooler might get an opportunity to resolve their Flip Monster, which could be really strong. It's a Magician of Faith. So we're going to get Delinquent Duo number 4 of the match here for Cooler resolving against the Knights. Definitely want to use it now because the Sinister Serpent is engraved to rip out 2 potentially real cards from the Knight's hand. And that will come through, and that hits a Tribe Infecting Virus and a Mirror Force, so 2 really strong cards to hit. Cooler in a commanding position here thanks to Duo Faith Duo. Pretty similar sort of blowout status to game 1. Nobleman of Crossout to deal with the set monster. Banishing all the Magician of Faith, so Cooler saying, all right, I can Faith here, but you're not going to be able to. And then they have the Tsukuyomi, so adding insult to injury here. Has the Suk Loop here to recur Knock or Delinquent Duo if they want. They're totally fine banishing all of the faiths out of both players' decks because they just have the Tsukiyomi to infinitely recur those unless it gets interrupted. So really nice play here from Cooler, getting maximum advantage out of their strong opening hand. And I wouldn't be surprised to just see the Knights kind of concede sometime soon. Tsukiyomi will hit in for 1100 though. So a clock here as well for Cooler. But the Knight's not entirely out of it yet. Going to be able to grab that Sinister Serpent, which can block some damage, so it will force Cooler to at least make some sort of other play, but you're just so far behind here. Jargri going to draw an additional card. Going to go, okay, interesting play. So we're going to go normal summon Sinister Serpent, attack into the Faith, which is not going to kill the Faith, but it is going to send it face up. So the second card, if the card in hand or the back row is a Snatch Steal, this could be your way to eliminate the Sook Loop, I guess. Yeah, Chaos isn't live, so there's no Sork plays in main phase 2 to banish it. Yeah, so Serpent's gonna crash into the Faith, flip it face up. Cooler gets to make the choice between grabbing Duo and grabbing Knock. Both stuff that the Knights can pretty easily play around at this moment, so kind of a tough choice to make. Probably doesn't matter too much which one you grab. Gonna grab that Duo, sure. And then the Knights are just gonna set a back row pass, which is interesting. I'm not really sure what the point of attacking in or attacking the Faith in there was. Maybe there's Torrential doesn't matter. Mirror Force is gone, so that doesn't matter. A little bit confused about that, but it is a play, I guess. We'll get Sook flipped down. Oh, so it was to allow them to ring. Well, I guess they got the effect off anyway. I mean, I guess it minimizes the potential for Cooler to draw a Trinity piece or something this turn and then immediately reuse it in Faith. You force them to grab one of those two potentially dead cards between the Knock and the Duo. So the Knights making the best of a potentially bad situation here. They're able to force the Faith out to grab something kind of suboptimal, and now they can ring it when the Tsukiyomi comes down to interrupt the loop. So not bad. Cooler should take 300. Tsukiyomi will be able to beat over the Sinister Serpent, so Serp not blocking all damage this turn, but it will be able to block out. Well, Tsukiyomi can't be summoned into an empty board anyway, so Cooler's going to have to find another threat, most likely, now that their Faith is gone. Cooler should be taking 300. Yep. And then they're going to set a back row pass. We're going to end phase MST on that back row, which is that Duo, so just using it to bait out. The MST is actually probably best case scenario for Cooler here in this situation. That's kind of funny. And the Knights is just pure top decking here against 6 cards in hand. Well, I guess they're pure top decking plus Sinister Serpent, so not as terrible, but still obviously not very good. Just going to set a monster pass. Could be the Sinister, could not. Could be a dead Chaos monster. Could be a lot of things. Cooler is going to go normal summon Tribe Infecting Virus. Pretty good if the set monster is Gravekeeper Spy. Just going to attack in there. It is a Dekoichi, so that'll cycle for a card, but the Tribe will stick on board and continue to pressure the life points. 1600 damage a turn is a very real clock. Back row here from the Cooler to potentially protect it. The Knights is just going to go set that Serpent, set a couple back row pass. So that'll be able to wall out here. No Mirror Force to worry about. So Cooler could just go for Tsukiyomi, set Tribe, flip summon Tribe, Sook kill Serpent, Tribe get in for 16. That plays into Torrential Tribute, but you probably don't care about getting Torrential here. And you're actually probably happy that then you don't have to play around Torrential for the rest of the game. So I think Cooler just, once again, in a really good position. We're actually just going to go normal summon Sinister Serpent, which fully plays around set Torrential Tribute. And Serp, attack position can kill Serp face down defense position. And that'll open the way for Tribe to get in for some damage. 1600 a turn here. Tribe no longer an effective wall now that Cooler has 2 monsters that can potentially get over it. But a bunch of unknown stuff coming through here. We got standby phase Raigeki break after drawing the Serpent, so they can go and recur that Serpent again after the Raigeki break resolves. We're going to pop that Tribe Infecting Virus, remove Cooler's major threat. So doing a really good job delaying this game as much as possible despite being down a trillion cards. It's only a matter of time before Cooler cashes in those Thunder Dragons, though, and then it'll probably be GG. And then Knights is going to go ahead. Yeah, so we're going to normal summon Serpent to crash Serpents, which forces or does not allow Cooler to tribute summon for wow, tongue-tied. It does not allow Cooler to tribute summon for Thunder Dragon on their own turn to apply lots and lots of pressure here. So keeping a monster off board to prevent tribute summons is a smart play here, I would say. Both Serps at the grave. Cooler will grab their own. Just going to normal summon it, get in for 300. That's pretty cute. We might see the same thing out of the Knights here. Cooler adds another back row, but man, if you're Cooler, you got to think. I mean, we know the hand is Sook double TD, and Chaos is dead, so you could just be super duper bricked. You really want to find a Graceful Charity, but in the meantime, you're applying as much pressure as possible. I guess that's fine. Knights Recurse Serpent once more. Gonna go for the same Crash Serpent play. Yep, and it's still just 300 a turn here for Cooler, which isn't nothing, but it's not a lot. We're gonna get normal summon Exiled Force, something that does not die to Sinister Serpent. Not your traditional beater, but it is 1,000 damage a turn, which is significantly more than Sinister Serpent, and a four-turn clock in this scenario. So Knights is going to get dropped to 2,800. It's going to need to find another out here besides just the Sinister. Still recurring it, of course. They can go set probably the Sinister Pass. We'll see if Cooler goes for the same normal summon Sinister play to play around Torrential Tribute. Or if they have something else going on. Yeah, we're just going to see the same thing. Kills the Serpent. Exile Force gets in for 1,000. Drops the Knights to 18. Slowly but surely getting there. Interestingly, not recurring the Serpent here intentionally to play around Trap Dust Shoot. Not sure if you can really afford to do that in this scenario. But maybe it's fine. Okay, and then they're going to go set a card so that they can activate Thunder Dragon. And still never going up to 4 cards. So potentially has like a BLS in hand that they really want to protect. And now that Thunder Dragon represents the light engrave for them to finally play a monster. That could be what we're seeing here. Yeah, so double Thunder Dragon coming out. Yeah, we see that BLS hit the board, so the Knight's going to great lengths, not grabbing that Serpent, setting stuff before activating Thunder Dragon, all to make sure that this BLS could not get hit by a Dust Shoot before it could hit the field. We'll see if that ends up being enough to turn the tides of this game. It's has a choice of which to banish. Gonna go... You really want to banish the Serpent, so you never have to worry about it again, but Exiled Force is an out, of course, to BLS. So if you do not have anything to answer Exiled, then you just are kind of forced to banish it here. And then they're going to use... Oh, interesting. So we're going to use Ring of Destruction, chain to the BLS effect to try and pop the BLS, but we're going to get Book of Moon to save it. So that'll be a 1-for-1 trade there, Ring trading for Book, and then the BLS effect will resolve, banishing the Exiled Force, and BLS will be able to stick around. So we're just going to get Torrential. Yeah, you can't Torrential here. Yeah, how does this... I'm not the expert on rulings. I guess we shall see. Oh, he said no prio. Right, yeah, so there you go. Yeah. So Cooler gave up their ability to use the Torrential Tribute because they let the full summon of BLS resolve, so TT could not be activated. And now the Knights knows about set Torrential Tribute. If you're Cooler, you could just bare minimum go Tribute Summon Thunder Dragon, Chain Torrential, and yeah, it'll go negative in card advantage, but you're up a bunch, so it probably doesn't matter. And yeah, we're just going to see that exact play come out. So you are 2-for-1ing yourself, but it deals with the BLS nicely, and that was really the only thing the Knights had going for him. Just going to pass, though. So yeah, hand really gunked up here for Cooler. Not a lot going on. Really needs to find Graceful Charity, and honestly, the Knights here, I said they were really out of the count after that double duo early on, but they're still in it. Because the Cooler just seems to have completely bricked. The Knights can safely grab the Sinister Serpent here thanks to no back row out of Cooler, no Dust Shoot to worry about. And they're just going to set a Monster Pass, could always be that Sinister. Cooler grabs a Sinister of their own. Graceful Charity finally coming out here for Cooler, so going to be able to cash in their Sinisters, their Thunder Dragons that are remaining in hand, and maybe finally unlock some stuff that will resolve. And you have to think this is exactly what Cooler was waiting for. Discarding Serpent plus Gravekeeper's Spy. So interestingly, choosing to keep that Thunder Dragon in hand, which I guess is fine. If you maybe drew like double spy or something. Oh no, you just really want to get a dark engrave, right? Of course. Yeah, cooler most likely stuck on some chaos monsters, so waiting to grab this or dumping this spy engrave so because it's a dark, enabling chaos. We're going to see Breaker hit the board. Going to use the ability to clear a back row first just to make it a little bit more likely that your chaos monster resolves. I like the sequencing here. Going to pop the 50-50, hits the torrential tribute. So Cooler did have an opportunity there, or the Knights did have an opportunity there to torrential the board. Assuming this is a set Sinister Serpent, it would just be a nice 1-for-1 trade with Breaker, and it would protect your other back row. But the Knights, I guess, likely reading kind of obviously that Cooler is about to slam down a Chaos Monster, so taking the 50-50 risk that they don't hit Torrential Tribute to potentially keep their answer to Chaos on board, but losing that coin flip. And now the board is pretty much clear here for Cooler to summon their Chaos. It's going to be Chaos Sorcerer, not BLS, so not able to banish this face down. So if it's Serpent, that will be continue to come back time and time again. But it is actually a Gravekeeper Spy. Okay. So that's pretty interesting. So Serpent's still in hand. Spy here will wall out damage for the turn. It'll summon a copy of itself that Chaos Sorcerer will just banish here in main phase 2. Or you can attack over it. Doesn't really matter. You'd probably just rather banish it, right? Yeah, so main phase 2, Sork banish a Spy. And threatening to do the same thing next turn and clearing the way for the Breaker for potential game. Couple back row set here as well. The Knights hiding behind the Spy, but it's not going to last if you cannot answer this Chaos Sorcerer. Does have a Sork of their own. I'm going to use Prio to banish Sork. And now the Knights seems to have stalled out here, looking like they might have stabilized. Sork dealt with for Cooler, and now they're off of Chaos because there's no other Dark Engrave. Now, interesting thing to note here, the Knights summoned the Chaos Sorcerer in attack position, which could be detrimental because it gives Cooler the opportunity to Crash Breaker into Chaos Sorcerer, get a Dark Engrave, and then summon another Chaos Monster if they have one available. And that is one of the reasons why you often will see Chaos Monsters summoned in defense position to prevent plays like this. We'll see if Cooler opts for it. They might not even have a Chaos in hand, but definitely an option if they do. We're going to get Raigeki Break, discard Knight Assailant, so that gets a Dark Engrave just fine there. Going to be able to recur that Magician of Faith as well with a light already engraved, so you're not worried about taking yourself off lights. That will pop the Chaos Sorcerer. So pretty cleanly dealing with that. Just a nice 1-for-1 trade. And we're just going to go main phase 2. Breaker will attack into the other set monster. It is a Sinister Serpent, so the Spy is going to do a good job of walling out the Knights here. For the time being, but Cooler, of course, has a full grip of cards here. Might have some other interaction. Going to set a monster pass. We know they did have Magician of Faith in hand, threatening to grab Graceful with the Serpent, threatening to grab Delinquent Duo. You could get tricky. You haven't seen knock or anything out of your opponent all game. So you could be tricky and set that Serpent here to bait something out if you want. We'll see if Cooler went for the greedy play or the more conservative play. The Knights, of course, grabbing that Serpent again. Set a monster pass. So Cooler, if you did set the Faith, you are rewarded. We're going to get Desert Sunlight. So this will force a trigger here of Knight Assailant to pop the set monster. So Cooler will get rewarded here if it is, in fact, that Sinister that they set. It is the Magician of Faith, though, so I'm not going to say getting greedy, but going for the less conservative play, not trying to bait out any set interaction, and now their Faith will be unable to resolve. They'll just trade 1-for-1 with that Desert Sunlight, and now this Knight Assailant. It's kind of like trading... It's kind of a good trade for the Knights, I guess. Or sorry, a good trade for Cooler, because you trade your card for a full card and flipping Knight Assailant face up, so it becomes, like, not really a full card, right? Now, of course, you'd probably rather have resolved your Faith and grabbed whatever good stuff engraved you would want. But it's also not a terrible trade on the other side. Cooler here, going to go to main phase 1, activate Reinforcement of the Army. Grab Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke, so that will effectively deal with the Gravekeeper Spy thanks to its effect. Oh, and then, yeah, we'll get Raigeki Break, main phase 1 as well, to pop one of the set monsters, and then so I guess it's you pop the Spy, normal summon Ninja Grandmaster, Breaker kills Knight Assailant, Ninja Grandmaster attacks exactly for 1800 for game, and there you have it. And we'll go to game 3 here. The Knights will be able to go first here, and I think we've got Cooler here rocking Chaos Warrior. Pretty cool list. Versus the Knights on just pretty much Chaos Turbo Teching Desert Sunlight, which is a card that you sometimes see in the deck. Helps play around Nobleman of Crossout and stuff like that. Getting a little bit of value that turn by preventing Cooler from flipping their Faith by instant triggering your Knight Assailant. But otherwise hasn't really done too much this game, or this match, I should say. The Knights here, going first for the first time this match here in Game 3, going to lead out with a Thunder Dragon, so going up about half a card. Into Upstart Goblin to dig a little bit further, and then T-set Pass. So not a decent, or not a bad opening. Finding that Thunder Dragon early is quite nice, and then you have an early play as well. Oh, and a Trap Dust Shoot to follow it up here. So we'll see what the Cooler is rocking. Their Dust Shoot targets are Sinister Serpent and Tribe Infecting Virus. You also see Nobleman of Crossout and Mind Control in hand. So Cooler has an interesting kind of play to make here, right? Because Knock can, of course, just deal with the set monster for free. So it's less risky to use Knock here. But when your opponent knows about Mind Control, it gets a lot worse, because then they can bait it out with stuff that doesn't lose to Mind Con. So because this card was set before the Mind Con was used, or before the Mind Con was known, if I was Cooler, the play here is probably lead out with Mind Con. Just because there's a chance that the Knights didn't play around it. Whereas in the future, you always have to know that there's a very good chance that they are. For the Knights here, first one to make a decision, I think it's pretty clear you're going to rip out the Sinister Serpent. It just makes all the cards in Cooler's hand good. So yeah, we'll see that Serpent ripped out. Now there's no easy discard fodder for either the Regeki Breaks or the Tribe Infecting Virus. We saw last game Sinister do a ton of work for both players. It's just an insane card, especially in these turbo decks. So ripping it out is quite nice. And then Cooler is going to lead out with the Nobleman of Crossout, which turns out to be the right call here. It's going to banish a Sangan. So not getting, obviously if they went for the Mind Control there, they would have gotten baited and gone -1 because the Sangan doesn't do anything when it's flipped. So going for the less greedy play, using the Knock here, just dealing with the Sangan permanently. And now the downside of this is they have this Mind Con that the Knights knows about in hand, and it might not ever really get a good chance to use. Cooler there, double Raigeki Break in hand, not really going to say either of those because you don't have any discard outlets. So the Knights here playing with full information. As an Upstart Goblin to dig a little bit further into the deck. Just going to set a back row pass, so potentially slow start here out of them as well. The Cooler just going to draw pass. Slow one here, draw pass. Draw set one pass. Graceful Charity out of the Knights here, so just ripping through it immediately. Has those Thunder Dragons in hand to cash in, so, achieving that little combo there to go up a full real card. Oh, and we just have discard double Knight Assailant, so it's even worse than that. Just going to be able to bounce both of those back to their hand. Basically, free +3 free +2 from Graceful Charity. That's why these Knight Assailants are in here mostly. It's quite a strong combo. And now the Knights is up 1.5 million cards. Really full grip here. Delinquent Duo here to rip out stuff from Cooler's hand as well. Going up even more cards. So not a lot of action on the board, but lots of action between the hands of both players, jockeying for resource advantage. Now, hitting the Mind Control is actually, you're kind of fine with that if you're Cooler, because now the Knights doesn't know about, Mind Control gets a lot worse when your opponent knows about it, so you're kind of fine. Even if it didn't get hit by the duo, you'd probably discard it there anyway, so likely the best possible result for Cooler. Going to discard one of those known Raigeki Breaks as well. Likely hasn't found any discard fodder for it just yet. But Duo will get a nice +1 there. The Knights will be able to set a monster, set a back row pass with a full 6 cards in hand, so up a ton. Cooler definitely back against the wall here. No pressure to their life points just yet, but you got to assume that's coming in soon. We're going to get normal summon Sangan here to go and attack into the set monster, which is a little bit odd. Okay, what is going on? We got Sakuretsu armor out of the side deck for the Knights. I guess you saw Cooler is running more of a warrior list, so that kind of makes sense. Saku is going to pop that Sangan, though, and Cooler will be able to search something. Going to grab that Serpent that got spun away. Quite good. Enables that Tribe in hand, enables that Raigeki Break in hand. You got to think, what is the Knights wanting to keep on board here? Perhaps they have a Tsukuyomi in hand. and this is a set Magician of Faith, and they want to establish the Souk Loop. That's probably what I would think it is. We're just gonna go ahead and knock the set one. Oh, we're gonna knock the Knight Assailant. Okay, so the Knight's making the call that they would rather. So Cooler, smartly, right? The Knights had to probably set a monster to not discard to hand size without playing into Heavy Storm. So there's a good chance that they just set a Knight Assailant because they knew they had two in hand. So Sangan crashing into the Knight Assailant is a pretty good play because it's just a free +1 for Cooler. So the Knight's making the interesting call that if they're going to get +1 anyway, they might as well lose the Sakuretsu armor instead of the Knight Assailant. Which I think is fine if you want to go Tribute for Thunder Dragon, right? You'd rather have the monster on board. Or you'd rather, like I was saying, if you have Tsukuyomi in hand, establish a potential Souk Loop with the Knight Assailant is also good. So you'd probably rather have the Assailant on board than the Sakuretsu armor in this scenario. Even though Sakuing a Sangan looks kind of weird. But unfortunately for the Knights anyway, Cooler has Nobleman of Crossout in main phase 2 to banish the Assailant. Second Assailant is in hand for the Knights, so not going to get banished. But that is another Dark of theirs, unable to hit the grave. So if they're kind of bricking up on Chaos Monsters, that could be an important decision there. Because, of course, if the Knights let the Sangan attack into the Knight Assailant, it would have hit the grave and would have enabled Chaos. So, potential inflection point in the match here that we'll see the result of later. Cooler's going to get their Knight Assailant banished. Probably fine with that. Thin the deck a little bit. It's going to set, or just going to pass turn there. Likely that Raigeki breaks set, the second one, you'd have to imagine. The Knights has another set monster. Cooler's going to go normal summon Sinister Serpent, attack into it. And it is Gravekeeper's Spy. That's a little bit interesting. So this does set up for potential Tribe Infecting Virus on a future turn for Cooler. We know that we have that in hand. But the Knight's going to be able to summon those out. Set a back row here for Cooler. Going to try and set up for that Tribe Infecting Virus play. You would also want to get your Sinister off the board so you can discard it to it. But interesting play there for sure for the Cooler. We're going to get normal flip Spy to attack position, attack over the Sinister to prevent any, I guess, tribute summon plays, perhaps. Something to think about. Maybe any we haven't seen Metamorphosis, but also potential there. Kind of weird, actually, because now the Knights is getting the Sinister Engrave for Cooler to grab and then go for a Tribe Infecting Virus play. Unless you're doing this intentionally to bait Cooler into grabbing that Sinister so that they play into Trap Dust Shoot. That would be kind of cool. It's kind of forecasted, but there's a new set. Could be a Dust Shoot. And this could be an interesting mind game from the Knights. Even if you don't have a Dust Shoot, you might want to do this. Because Cooler then would be like, okay, the only reason why you're doing this is if you have a Dust Shoot, if you have a Dust Shoot, so I'm not going to grab Sinister, and I'm going to discard a real card to Tribe. So, interesting mind game. Cooler has to make the call of grabbing that Sinister or not. Gonna just grab it. The Knights, do you have the Dust Shoot? No. Interesting. Okay, so going for a little bit of a mind game there, but Cooler calling the bluff and is going to be able to go for this Tribe play if they so choose. Just going to fire off a Pot of Greed anyway. Okay. Knight's going to let that resolve, so pretty strong card there. We're going to get Tribe normal summoned, use Prio, discard Sinister Serpent, call Spellcaster, blow up both spies for free. And now you have a Tribe on board here to start beating in for damage each turn. Knights has Sakuretsu armor number 2, but Tribe already did a ton of damage, so I think you're probably fine with that if you're Cooler. But the Knights' life points will not be pressured just yet. Draw for turn here, grab that Breaker, the Magical Warrior. We're going to normal summon that. That'll just get instantly met with a Torrential Tribute, popping it before it even gets the chance to go for the 50-50 pop a set. So making the opposite play that the Knights did last turn, just going conservative, saying, I'm not going to risk it. Let me just deal with your Breaker. That's a nice 1-for-1 trade. Breaker often gets card advantage, so if you can go 1-for-1 with it, you're generally pretty happy. Cooler, once again, recurring that Sinister Serpent. Just going to set a back row pass. We got a really slow one here in game 3. Set a monster, set a back row pass for the Knights. We'll get end phase Dust Tornado to pop that new back row. It was a Heavy Storm, so the Knights getting a little bit tricky there. With the pro set Heavy, which is just going to get hit with the Dust Tornado. And now Cooler doesn't really have to worry about Heavy Storm for the rest of the game, which is pretty nice, unless there's Magician of Faith coming through, which is, we know both players are on, so definitely possible. Cooler's going to go Reinforcement of the Army. Would not be surprised to see them grab an Exiled Force to just deal with the Set Monster. You haven't seen Serpent yet, so that's really the only thing you would not want to Exiled Force here. So I think this is fine. Oh, we're actually just going to grab Blade Knight. So saying, okay, maybe that's the second Knight Assailant. I'm just going to beat over it. We haven't seen Blade Knight at all so far, but given this is more of a warrior list out of Cooler, I think it's totally, totally fine. We'll see that Blade Knight hit the field. It'll attack into the set monster. But we got Ring of Destruction here to pop the Blade Knight, so the Knight's protecting their set. It could be that second Knight Assailant, of course. Could be a Takoichi, could be Magician of Faith, all stuff you would want to protect from this oncoming Blade Knight. Both players will take 16. Blade Knight will hit the grave. And this is notably Chaos enabled here for Cooler. One of the other benefits of Rhoda Grab Blade Knight is that you were missing a light so far, so that does grab you the second attribute you needed for your Chaos monsters. Main phase 2, we're going to get Minecon on the set. Cooler making the call that, hey, it seems like you really want to protect this set monster, right? You used your Ring of Destruction to protect it. So it's probably not a Sangan. Or, I mean, not a Sinister Serpent, right? And they grab it, and it is that second Knight Assailant. Okay, so just going to be able to flip it up and force it to waste its effect. So actually kind of negative card advantage here for Cooler, because the Knight Assailant monster will remain on Knight's board. You're basically trading Minecon for like half a card, which isn't the best use of it, but at least now you know your opponent won't be able to get any crazy advantage off the Knight Assailant. Cooler's going to set a back row pass. The Knight gets that Knight Assailant back onto their board, just going to change it to defense position, add a couple back row pass, and phase we'll get Raigeki Break, discarding that Serpent for free to pop one of the back row. It is a Mirror Force, so hitting another of the Trap Trinity. Now you know you don't have to play around it, and potentially setting up for a big play this turn, knowing that some of the good back row is cleared out here from the Knights. We'll go standby phase, grab that Sinister. Normal summon Breaker. Breaker pop that set. It is Raigeki Break of the Knight's own. They do have a Thunder Dragon in hand as discard fodder, and that will pop Cooler's back row, which is... Ooh, Cooler thinking here. Could be an interesting play. Chain Ring of Destruction on the Knight Assailant. I mean, you might as well, right? Unless you are maybe considering ringing Breaker and then going for a game shot, potentially. That could be kind of cool. But we're going to ring the Knight Assailant, deal 200 to each player, clear out the board, force the Knights to make kind of a negative card advantage play. But... man, it's actually kind of crazy how quickly this game simplified. Thanks to like the Minecon being used, all these Raigeki breaks getting traded and stuff. And now both players really not down to too many cards in hand. And Cooler, you gotta, my chaos senses are tingling. I feel like something's about to come down right now, just the way he's been playing, or they've been playing. We're just gonna get in for 1600 with Breaker, so not having a game shot here, most likely. Keeping the Breaker on board just to continue to apply a little bit of pressure is pretty good. No back row to protect it. So pretty interesting. I guess making the call. So 1600 would have put them to... yeah, so if you have BLS in hand, ringing your Breaker is not lethal because your opponent, I think, would survive with 400 or something like that. And even in this scenario, ringing Knight Assailant... yeah, BLS is not game, so potentially not wanting to summon it anyway. And using it to just wait for a game shot here. Could be what's coming through. The Knights here, Chaos live of their own, so we could see that. Yeah, it looks like they do. We've got Chaos Sorcerer, just going to attack over the Breaker. Deal 700 to Cooler. No reason to banish it, because they already have a Dark Engrave. Nothing crazy there. And now Board Supremacy for the Knights, a back row here to protect it as well. So Cooler, if you've got that BLS in hand, you gotta be a little bit wary. You know, you don't have Mirror Force to worry about, but there is Torrential. There is other stuff as well. But notably, BLS attack into Sork, effect attack directly is game. That's 3,700. So Cooler could potentially have that play here. Yeah, we're going to slam BLS. Are we just going to attack in? You know your opponent is on Sakuretsu armor. Do they run the full 3? If they have it, that's crazy. We're just going to go for game, not using Prio, attack the Sork, And we've got Raigeki Break, pop, or discard the Thunder Dragon to pop the BLS. Ooh, so Cooler getting greedy there, going for the game shot, despite not knowing what the back row could be out of the Knights, when it could have been a lot of stuff. Raigeki Break being one of them. So going for the slightly more greedy play of going for the game shot here, instead of using Prio to banish the Sork, so at least if the Knights, change Raigeki Break or something, you'll still have dealt with the opponent's monster. And now you actually might be in a losing board position. You do have potential chaos again with the Sangan plus BLS, maybe. So maybe it's fine. Maybe you're fine taking that risk if you have backup. I'm just going to set a monster pass, though, so could very well just be that Sinister Serpent in hand, and Cooler maybe getting a little bit too greedy there, not respecting the Knight's back row, and the Knights is just going to be able to have this Chaos Sorcerer here to continue to generate advantage and apply pressure. It's going to go attack that Sun Monster. It is that Serpent. Add a back row there, so Cooler back to the wall here, needs to find an answer to this Sork. Snatch Steal is quite a good one. We're going to see that come on over there. We're going to get in for 2,300. The Knights drops down to 1,300. Notably, Snatch Steal with the 1,000 life points granted to the Knights in their standby phase will put him at exactly 2,300, which is exactly lethal from Chaos Sorcerer. So Cooler here passing with lethal on board. And going to set that Sinister Serpent just for good measure, as well as a back row. So the Knights here, you got a lot of stuff to deal with. Can you answer this Chaos Sorcerer? You go up to 2,300. You have Snatch Steal of your own to steal back the Sork, and are both players just going to regain 1,000,000 life because of the snatches with Serpent walling out the Sorcerer? That'd be really funny. Ooh, and we've got Tsukuyomi to just steal the Chaos Sorcerer forever here. Snatch Steals will hit the grave. Players will no longer continue to gain life. And now this is also a clock here if Cooler does not have any real back row. Yeah, so Tsukuyomi there, the shortcut. Summon it, flip the Sork face down, killing both the Snatch Shields, and then you can flip summon Chaos Sorcerer on the back end. You have no Torrential Tribute to worry about, so this is pretty safe. Although the double attack in here could get got by a Mirror Force. Looks like Cooler does not have it, though, and that's 2,300 points of damage into the dome, thanks to that Sork. And Cooler, you got a lot to worry about here. Gonna go grab that Serpent. You've got 2 unknown cards. We got Call of the Haunted is huge with BLS in the grave. Interesting. So choosing not to use that to block the Sork damage because they would rather go. Once again, this is game, right? Yeah, this is game. If they go attack over it, you surely don't have another Raigeki Break, right? Or another Sakuretsu armor. Are we gonna be greedy and attack for game, or are we gonna go ahead and banish this Sork with Prio? Yeah, we're not gonna be greedy this time. Gonna go ahead and banish that Sork. And we're going to set probably that Sinister Serpent pass. Your opponent just has Tsukuyomi in hand, which isn't doing too much. Plus a back row, plus a top deck. But BLS is looking pretty good. Lethal on board. And yeah, we're just going to concede. We'll see what the players are. Yeah, Dead Trap Dust Shoot, Dead Tsukuyomi. Back row was another Dead Trap Dust Shoot. So drawing all 3 Dust Shoot this game, only able to use one of them, kind of happens sometimes when you're rocking that card. Kind of a high risk, high reward guy there. But Cooler's going to take it down 2-1. Chaos Warrior beats Chaos Turbo Teching Desert Sunlight. Really interesting match. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Bit of a marathon, but some really cool plays by both players. And a really exciting final game there with traded Chaos Sorcerers, traded Snatch Steals, things like that. Hope you all enjoyed it. I will definitely catch you all next time.